Hello, and welcome to our next Procurement Masterclass where we will be discussing local sourcing. My name is LaMonica Jones, and I'm the Procurement and Purchasing Compliance Officer with Right from the Start, Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. Our learning objectives for today will be understanding the basics of local sourcing, outlining the regulations governing procurement and local sourcing. We will learn how to successfully execute local sourcing practices. We will also discuss common locally sourced products, as well as list resources to assist with incorporating local sourcing practices within your child care setting. So before we can actually begin the discussion on local sourcing, we must first talk about local. What does it mean to be local? Well, there is actually no official definition for the term local. The definition for local actually depends on the geography and the climate where your child care center is located. So based on the geography and the climate, different products could possibly be grown and harvested, which is one of the reasons why we can't actually set a standard definition for what local is. Local will be dependent upon where the location and the geography or the climate and geography of your child care center is located. However, one of the ways that you can define local would be products that are grown and harvested within a certain mile radius of your child care center. So maybe there are certain products that are grown and harvested within 5 miles, within 25 miles. You can also define local as products that are grown and harvested within your county or your state or within your region. When we think region, we could also consider the region where your state is actually located. So here in Georgia, those products that are grown and harvested within the southeastern part of the United States, those products can be deemed as local. Or we could simply look at the regions in Georgia, the southwest part of the state. Those products that are grown, for example, in southwest Georgia, those could be products that are considered local. And once you've determined your definition for local, you can then define local sourcing as the process of purchasing food products that are grown and harvested according to your definition of local. So local sourcing would be the process of purchasing food products that are grown and harvested within a particular given mile radius, within a particular county, within the state, within the region, whether that be a region within the United States or a given region in your state. And you could also choose to define local as products that are grown and harvested during a particular season. So those products that are grown and harvested, say within autumn, so pumpkins and apples during the wintertime. If we look at our dark leafy green produce, you could choose to define those items as local because they are grown during a specific season. So once you have determined or defined what local sourcing or what local is for your child care setting, the next is to understand which products are deemed local, the types of product, a general broad overview of what can be deemed local. So local is not limited to just fruits and vegetables, although that is the common category which people associate with anything that is local. Food items that can also be local would be meat and poultry and fish, eggs, dairy, beans, grains, and flour. All of these items, in addition to fruits and vegetables, can be considered locally sourced products. So why is local sourcing so important? One of the reasons why local sourcing is important is because it supports the supply and demand of unprocessed foods. The goal with our child nutrition programs is to bring a greater access to healthy and nutritious meals to our child care centers in an education setting. And locally sourcing your products will assist with the supply and demand of those unprocessed foods. Local sourcing also encourages healthy eating practices. Local sourcing will promote gardening and farming practices within the community. It improves the quality of meals served in a child care setting. And it also decreases the consumption of processed sugary foods. So now that you have a sound definition for what local means and what it is to locally source your products, as well as what types of products can be locally sourced, there's a few questions that you should begin to ask yourself before actually proceeding with buying local. One of the first questions you should ask is, how are you going to purchase local foods? Are you going to purchase them from a producer or a grower? Do you have a direct relationship with a farmer or with a grower in your area? Perhaps you're going to utilize the items that are grown within your school garden, whether it be for a taste test or incorporated into an entire meal. Or maybe you're going to purchase it from a distributor. Maybe you purchase your products for your meals from a distributor such as US Foods or Cisco. Maybe you're going to again add on locally sourced products as one of the food items that you desire to purchase from your distributor. Another question you may ask yourself are, what are your goals for local sourcing? Do you want to incorporate locally sourced products into a meal service such as breakfast or snack? Maybe you want to incorporate locally sourced products into a taste test, which will introduce new fruits and vegetables, new foods in general, to your children in your education setting. Or maybe you want to start an education activity, make this a learning opportunity surrounding a particular fruit or vegetable or locally sourced product. Another question you can ask yourself is, which products are you currently purchasing that are locally sourced? So you have already made purchases just on a weekly, monthly basis from a distributor, from a farmer, from a farmer's market, but perhaps some of those items you're not aware are locally sourced. So taking a look at what you normally purchase in the course of a week or a month or however frequently you purchase, maybe you're already purchasing those locally sourced products. And another question, the last question you could possibly ask yourself is, do you have the proper storage capacity to hold fresh food? In order to meet health regulations, food safety guidelines, you should always make sure that you are following or you have proper storage and you're following proper food safety procedures in order to ensure the freshness of the foods that you are purchasing prior to incorporating them into your meal service, into your taste testing, or to your educational programs in general. And here are just a few questions or tips before actually buying local. One question is, how much do you need for your program? Consider the budget. As with the other items that you are purchasing for your child nutrition program, one of the things that you should consider is your budget. How much do you actually need? You want to ensure that you are not over purchasing fresh food items just simply for the sake of supporting local. You want to make sure you are buying exactly what you need, because we don't want any food to go bad. We don't want to contribute to food waste, and you don't want to overspend for your budget. Next, consider which foods will be easiest to prepare. Opt for those items that are non-labor intensive. So looking at your menu, looking at what types of vegetables or fruits or locally sourced products are available, consider those that are non-labor intensive, that you may not have to do too much additional preparation before actually serving them. Another tip is talk to your butcher at your local grocer. So if you shop at your local grocery store, ask the person that is behind the counter where they're purchasing their proteins. You'd be surprised that he or she will be very forthright with telling you where, what farm, what rancher they purchase their locally sourced products. And lastly, know which local foods are in season. You do have access to a Georgia harvest calendar, which will let you know which fruits and vegetables that are grown and harvested here in Georgia are in peak season, which have an extended peak season, which means they will likely be harvested and grown an extra month or two, as well as those fruits and vegetables which are not in season. So know which foods are local, or know which local foods are in season so that you are purchasing the freshest foods possible. So now you're ready to actually buy local. You have an understanding of questions, of tips, of tools that you should take forth when you actually decide to implement. So here's 5 ways you can actually incorporate local sourcing into your meal service plan or into your child nutrition program already. The first way is to identify what local foods are on the current menu. This goes back to our previous slide where we talked about what products you currently purchase that are locally sourced. So identifying what products that are already on your shopping list, what foods you're already purchasing that are going to be on your menu. Identify those foods that are currently on your menu and try to incorporate local sourcing. So if you're purchasing, if you're having salads for that week, or if you're having tacos for that week, or if sweet potatoes are on the menu that week, try to incorporate those locally sourced products into your menu. You're already having those on the menu, so just instead of a non-locally sourced product, swap them out for a product that is locally sourced. Another way to incorporate local sourcing into your child nutrition program is to substitute ingredients. Perhaps you have something that is not grown and harvested here in Georgia. Substitute one of those ingredients or substitute one of those items for a product that is grown and harvested in Georgia. The next would be to serve local products on your salad bar. And this isn't an intensive salad bar, but say you have 5 or 6 different menu items, different food items that are available offered on your salad bar. Instead of, again, products that are not grown and harvested here in Georgia, opt to serve 1 or 2 of those items, if not all of those items that are found on your local salad bar, on your school salad bar. Swap those items out or substitute those items out for items that are locally grown here in Georgia. Another way that you can incorporate local sourcing would be to start a Harvest of the Month program. So taking a look at our harvest calendar for the state of Georgia, looking at those fruits or vegetable items that are in peak season or maybe have an extended peak season, develop a Harvest of the Month program surrounding that activity, surrounding that fruit or vegetable. So you could take a look at, let's say for the fall, pumpkins. So create a learning activity. You can create a taste test, and then you can incorporate pumpkins somehow into your food service. So create a Harvest of the Month program. This will be a good way to introduce the children in your program to new fruits and vegetables that they are traditionally accustomed to seeing in one way, but to actually having them taste it and experience them in a new way. And lastly would be to develop new recipes. The USDA has a wonderful What's Cooking guide found on their website, on the FNS website, and this is an opportunity for you to input particular items, maybe something that you're going to incorporate with the Harvest of the Month program. Input that item into the What's Cooking guide and look up certain recipes that maybe you've never tried before and you want to incorporate it. Again, this is an opportunity for new access to foods that your students have never tried before and incorporating them in fun, healthy ways into your menu. So you're fully committed to buying local. You are deciding to swap out a couple ingredients or substitute a couple ingredients on your menu. You want to develop new recipes. You're interested in starting a Harvest of the Month program. But the next question you have is, where can you buy local? One of the first places that you can try local, where many people opt, are farmers markets. USDA has a really awesome resource where you can locate farmers markets in your area. The good thing about farmers markets is they tend to have a variety of products located at their market. So it's not just fruits and vegetables. You may come to find that there are honey products. There may be maple syrup products that are locally sourced here in Georgia, and you'll find that a farmer's market will have a wide variety of products for you to incorporate or for you to purchase in order to incorporate into your child nutrition program. Another area or place where you can buy local would be community supported agriculture, or which is commonly called a CSA. Now, a CSA is where consumers purchase a share via a membership or subscription from a local farmer or a grower. In exchange for their share, they will receive a box of in-season produce. So every month, or however frequently decided upon with the membership or subscription or share that you purchase, you will receive a box which will be a mixture of fruits and vegetables of in-season produce. Another location where you can buy local would be from a food hub. Now, a food hub can be both a physical location or an online space. And the purpose of a food hub is to connect producers to consumers by managing aggregation, distribution, and marketing of local and regional food products. So think of it as a one-stop shop for getting your locally grown food. And then more a common location where many people choose to buy is a distributor, such as U.S. Foods or Cisco. So in this sense, you would contact your local sales rep or the person who you discussed when you place your orders, and just let them know that you're interested in buying local products in addition to the items that you're already purchasing, or you want to substitute local for those non-local items that are found on your menu. Your distributor should be able to incorporate those items into your weekly order list. Next will be your local grocery store. You can also purchase from a farmer and then a farm stand. Now, farm stands are typically located near a farm on the roadside, or at U-Pick locations. They are usually operated by a single farmer or a farm, and they offer products that have been harvested that particular day. A farm stand that is a new farm stand that has actually been popping up around the city of Atlanta are fresh market markets, and these are farm stands that are found within the turnstiles of 5 MARTA stations here in the city of Atlanta. So these are all the different ways that you can purchase local, or you can buy the local products that you want to include within your child nutrition program. This is not by any means an exhaustive list. I'm sure there are many other options, but these are just 7 common ways or 8 common ways where you can purchase your food products. So, taking a look at farmers markets, say you know where you're going to buy local, and farmers markets seem to be the best bet for you. You can shop with a wide variety of options. You don't have to just stick to purchasing one thing. You know that you'll have a relationship with a wide variety of farmers, or develop a relationship with a wide variety of farmers. So you've decided that purchasing local from a farmer's market is your best option. Well, here's a few questions and a few tips that you should ask and utilize prior to and while you are shopping at your local farmer's market. The first question that you should ask is, what are the acceptable forms of payment? While cash is always acceptable, you may find out that some farmers markets, and most, are incorporating the use of benefit cards. So WIC, SNAP, and EBT cards are now acceptable forms of payment at many local farmers markets. The first tip, or another tip where you can, before actually purchasing items from your farmer's market, would be bring insulated bags, ice packs, coolers, canvas bags for dairy and protein purchases. So depending upon how long you intend to stay at the farmer's market, or how many products you intend on purchasing while at your farmer's market, those items that have to stay cool, you want to ensure, especially during the warmer months, you want to ensure that you have proper storage facility until you are able to arrive back at your child care center with those items that you have purchased. So consider bringing insulated bags, ice packs, and coolers in order to keep those items cold and cool. Another tip will be, consider the products that farmers markets may specialize in offering. For example, if you're visiting a particular farmer's market and you find out they have a lot of honey products available, or a lot of maple syrup products available, this may be the place where you purchase those locally sourced products that you are in need of. Next is know which produce is in season. This goes back to the Georgia harvest calendar. Take a look at that harvest calendar, as well as what the farmer's market is offering for the day that you plan to visit, and choose to purchase those items which are in season. Those will be the items that are the freshest and that you'll have easiest access to for your meal planning. Another question you could ask is, are there CSA opportunities available? Is there an opportunity present at this given farmer's market for community-supported agriculture? Talk to the farmers that are there at the farmer's market. Let them know that you are interested in CSA shares, and begin the discussion and the conversations, and see if there's any opportunities for you to sign up for your share and to participate in a CSA while you're at the farmer's market. And lastly, ask what are the growing practices of the farmers while you're there. If sustainable farming is something that you're very interested, ask the farmers how they're managing their water system, how are they promoting biodiversity, which is various life forms that are found on a farm, how are they building and maintaining healthy soil. All of these may be questions that the farmer that is there will be able to answer for you. You also may want to ask, what is their pest management system? How do they control the pest population, specifically those hazardous pests to their fruit and vegetables? And lastly, you may just want to talk about soil and crop rotation. What do they do to support these 2 items on their farm? So tips for storing locally grown food. So you shopped at your farmer's market, you've got the products that you need, you're ready to come back to your child care facility, to your location, and you're ready to put those products away until you're ready to incorporate them into one of your meal service items. So before you do that, you want to make sure that you have an understanding and that you are practicing food safety. You have a healthy, you're following food safety protocols accordingly so that the food stay fresh and that they're sanitized, as well as your kitchen is sanitized prior to storing them, as well as preparing them for one of your meals. So here's just a few tips for storing those locally grown foods. You want to make sure that you check, clean, rinse, separate, chill, and throw away. These are just a few practices that will protect you from food poisoning while enjoying fresh fruits and vegetables from your local farmers market. So the first one, which is check. You want to check for bruised or damaged foods. You want to check to see if the milk or juices are pasteurized. If the item is a pre-cut item, such as a fruit or vegetable, check to see that it is refrigerated or it is on ice when it was purchased. This goes back to ensuring that you bring ice packs and coolers for those items that must stay cold. Check to see if the eggs are clean and not cracked. And this goes for not just items that are purchased in a farmer's market, whether you're purchasing them from a distributor, whether you're purchasing them from a local grocer, you want to check the items that you purchase. Next, you want to clean your hands, surfaces, and utensils. Firmed skinned fruits or vegetables should be rubbed by hand or cleaned with a brush while rinsing underwater. You want to gently rub produce while holding under plain running water. There is no need to use soap or a produce wash. You want to make sure that you clean all surfaces with hot water and soap, including cutting boards and knives, before and after preparing fresh fruits and vegetables. The next step is to rinse. Rinse your fresh fruits and vegetables. You want to rinse the produce before you peel it so dirt and bacteria aren't transferred from the knife onto the fruit or vegetable. Do not rinse foods that are labeled ready to eat, wash, or triple wash. And again, there is no need to wash using a produce wash. The next will be separate from contaminants. Separate fresh fruits and vegetables from all other food items. Remember, ready-to-eat food should never be stored below raw meat. An additional reminder, separate fresh fruits and vegetables from raw food when preparing. Never use the same cutting board for fresh produce and raw products without cleaning it with hot water and soap before and after preparing fresh fruit. Our next step would be chill. Cut produce should be kept below 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Chilled, cut, peeled, and cooked fresh fruits and vegetables should be chilled within 2 hours to prevent bacteria growth. Make sure your meat is properly chilled. Bring insulated cooler bags and help maintain on the way home. And also you want to keep your refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Above temperature is the danger zone. And lastly, throw away. Throw away, if in doubt, throw it out. Throw away any fruits or vegetables that have been cut, peeled, or cooked and not refrigerated within 2 hours. Remove or throw away any damaged or bruised portions, and throw away any fruits or vegetables that may have touched raw meat, poultry, eggs, seafood, or cleaners. And when in doubt, throw it out. So, procurement and local sourcing. So before we even make those purchases, before we head out to that farmer's market or your local grocer or your farm stand, you want to make sure that proper procurement procedures are being followed when you're locally sourcing. So going back to one of our very first slides, you want to assess your budget and the need. The purpose of assessing your budget and your need, one of the reasons is to ensure that you're not over purchasing. You don't want to purchase fresh, especially fresh fruit items, because they will go bad. You don't want to over purchase fresh fruit items because they will go bad, and you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to utilize everything that you do purchase. And assessing your budget, you want to make sure that you're not spending more than you have allocated for. Next, you want to determine which procurement method will be followed based on your food costs. So you've assessed your budget, you've assessed your need. So now you know how much you're going to spend. So you want to, based on the spend that you have for local foods, you want to determine which procurement method will be followed based on those food costs. Will you be utilizing micro purchase, which are individual purchases that are under $10,000? Will you be utilizing small informal purchase? That would be for food costs that are $10,000 under to $250,000. Or perhaps you will be spending over $250,000 on your locally sourced products. So determine which procurement method will be followed based off of those food costs. Competition and local sourcing. So as you are procuring your locally sourced products, you want to ensure that your transactions are conducted in a manner that is providing full and open competition. Vendors and suppliers may not develop or draft specifications, requirements, statements of work, invitations for bids, or requests for proposals. So you want to make sure that you, as a child-centered operator, that you are developing all the specifications, that you have defined the term local, that you are completing the statements of work yourself, and this will ensure competition amongst all suppliers. Sponsors and institutions must use their own documented procurement procedures which reflect applicable state and local regulations. So as you've decided to incorporate local sourcing into your child nutrition program, you want to ensure that your procurement policy outlines your intent to utilize locally sourced products. So if there is a Harvest of the Month program that you intend to utilize at your child care center, you want to ensure that there is somewhere in your procurement policy that states that you will be locally sourcing products, and this may or may not require a separate procurement procedure. And if you need additional assistance with drafting a procurement policy, we do have a procurement and purchasing policy template available on our DECAL website. So here's just a brief look at our procurement methods that can be utilized when deciding to purchase locally grown and harvested food products for your child care setting. Again, we have informal procurement, and underneath informal procurement would be micro purchase. These would be purchases, single transactions that fall under $10,000. And when utilizing micro purchase, you have to remember you must rotate the vendors that are used. Underneath informal procurement, there's also small purchase, which are those purchases that fall between $10,000 and $250,000. With small purchase, you must contact 2 to 3 vendors, purchasing those locally sourced and grown items from the lowest cost vendor. And if it has been decided that your products will exceed the small purchase threshold of $250,000, this is when you will proceed with formal procurement. And there are 2 options with formal procurement. There is the invitation for bid as well as request for proposal. Now, in the event there is a particular item, locally sourced item, that you have not been able to locate from another vendor, there's only one vendor or one farmer where you have been able to consistently purchase this locally grown or harvested item, this is when you will utilize the non-competitive procurement, the single sole source option. Next, because you all are child care center operators and you are operating a child nutrition program, it is very important to ensure that the farmers, growers, distributors, producers that you are working with are not debarred or suspended from doing business with child nutrition programs. So a debarred organization is one that is prohibited from doing any business with a child nutrition program versus one that is suspended. There's a temporary prohibition from doing business with child nutrition programs. So these are simple questions that you can ask of your vendor that you're choosing to purchase your locally grown and harvested food products from, whether they are debarred and suspended. But you can also search the NDL list on the DECAL website, or you may check out sam.gov. That's www.sam.gov, and you may look through the NDL list to locate the farmer, the grower, the distributor you desire to purchase your locally grown and harvested products from to determine whether or not they are a debarred or suspended program. So developing this check sheet, the spec sheet. So you've been determined that the vendor that you're choosing to purchase your locally grown, locally sourced products are not on the debarred or suspended list, and you're ready to proceed with receiving prices or submitting a request for pricing and for quotes for the items that you need. So again, your vendor should not have any involvement with developing your statement of work or your spec sheet. So you have developed your own spec sheet. So when you submit a request for that pricing, you want to ensure that a specification sheet is attached. And a specification sheet is just a detailed or specific list of the desired characteristics or the description of the product. You want to make sure that you consider the product style, size, count, container, and packing medium. So you want to make sure that on this specification sheet, if you're looking for apples, you want to make sure you have the type of apple. Is it a Granny Smith apple? Is it a Pink Lady apple? You want to make sure that you include the types of apple. Are you looking for a case of apples? Is it a pound? If it's per pound or if it's per case, what is the average count that comes inside that case or that pound? Perhaps you know how many servings will be best utilized in that case of that pound that you desire to receive. So you want to include all of this information into your spec sheet. Do as best as you can and not to leave any specifications up to question for the vendor to answer, because you may find out if you allow the vendor to provide you with what they have available without first providing them with a basis for what you are trying to receive, they will give you pricing for something that does not fit your child nutrition program. So this is a sample of a specification sheet, very simple. It's just a list of items, and you see the case, pack, or the size. Then you have the unit of measure. And then what you would do is that you would leave one of the very last column blank. And this is where the vendor will put in their pricing. So you will leave this column empty for the farmer to input possibly their per pound price. If this is a distributor, their per case price. And then what is not shown in the screen is the next column over would be a simple formula that will multiply the quantity that you need times the price and will give you a total spend for everything that is found on your specification sheet. So contracting with small businesses. And when we talk about small business in this sense, we're talking about farmers, family growers, just those businesses that are deemed small. You want to make sure that you are incorporating small businesses and farms whenever possible. Some affirmative steps that you can include when contracting or doing business with small businesses will be placing SBEs, and an SBE is a small business enterprise. This is a minority or could be a minority or women-owned business as well. You want to make sure that you are placing them on the solicitation list. So if you send out a blanket notification to the vendors, suppliers, growers that you have existing relationships with, make sure that you are including SBEs on that solicitation list so that they are aware and maybe they can provide one or two items on that list that you have. Next, you want to solicit small and minority businesses wherever possible. So in addition to including them on your solicitation list, possibly for formal procurement, you want to make sure that you have a list of small business, small and minority, women-owned businesses that you can just reach out when utilizing informal procurement. So maybe there's a few female farmers in your area that you can reach out to via phone that can provide you with the items that you need for your meal service. Another step that you could take to include small businesses into your nutrition program will be dividing requirements when economically feasible into smaller tasks or quantities. Again, this would be kind of similar to having a small business set aside. So there could be particular items, there could be 10% of your items, there could be 25% of your items. So dividing those requirements when economically feasible, that's the key, into smaller tasks or quantity to ensure that small businesses have an opportunity to bid or to participate and provide you with pricing for those items that you're needing to locally source. And lastly, if you want to do business with small businesses, but you are unaware of any minority, small, or women-owned businesses, contact your local small business association or your minority supplier development council. Here in Georgia, it is simply called GMSCC. And then let them know that you are looking for information on small business enterprises in your area. Farm to early care and education. So farm to early care and education is a very important component, or local sourcing is a very important component to farm and early care and education. Local sourcing, or farm to early care and education, or ECE, encourages healthy eating through health education, procurement, and school gardening. Farm to ECE activities can increase children's willingness to try new foods. It will help the children in your educational setting become familiar with local foods. It creates a reliable outlet for producers. They know that you are focused and committed to local sourcing, to school gardening, to health education. So farmers and growers and producers know that they can count on you to come to them or to other ones in the area for your local food needs. Farm to ECE also enables smaller purchasing volumes beneficial for early child care settings and local farmers. So when you're doing Farm to ECE, you're going to be purchasing in smaller volumes because fresher foods, because they are unprocessed and they are very natural, there is a possibility that they will go bad faster than a processed food. And so if you're interested in incorporating farm to early care and education into your child nutrition program, the USDA FNS has a wonderful farm to school planning kit, as well as the National Farm to School Network has the ability to provide information for you for resources in order to incorporate farm to early care and education into your child care center. So the three areas where Farm to ECE focuses most on, the first one is local procurement. Local procurement emphasizes how and where local foods are purchased and served. Again, going back to a few other slides, local procurement can be used, or local foods can be incorporated into the meals that you serve, breakfast, lunch, supper, snack, whichever combination you utilize. And taste test, which encourages children to try out new fruits and vegetables or other foods, grains that they may not be familiar with. In school gardens allow for hands-on learning activities. Children can feel the soil as they're planting. They can feel what a root is like. They can actually see for learning activities. They can see what these things look like in the growing stages. And this teaches students how to cultivate and grow their own produce, so they can see how fruits and vegetables and other locally sourced products are grown and harvested from start to finish. And another component of Farm to ECE is education, health education. This creates activities centered around agriculture, food, and nutrition. So a couple beneficial resources when incorporating local sourcing into your child nutrition program. The first is Georgia Grown. Now, Georgia Grown is an initiative that has been started by the Georgia Department of Agriculture, and Georgia Grown supports Georgia's agriculture economies by bringing together producers, processors, suppliers, distributors, retailers, agritourism with consumers in one powerful statewide community. So Georgia Grown is a wonderful resource to find out what's in season. I have had conversations with quite a few people who are interested in You Pick Strawberry Farms. We are in strawberry season here in Georgia. So Georgia Grown is a very healthy resource to learn more about the fruits and vegetables that are grown here in Georgia, as well as other locally sourced products, the grains, the beans, the flour, the meat, those type of things that are grown here in Georgia, as well as with the farmers and the growers and other things that Georgia is doing in order to incorporate locally sourced products back into the economy. And the USDA has a wonderful resource, the Local Food Directory. This is a national farmers market directory. If you log on to ams.usda.gov and search for the Local Food Directory, you will find all of the farmers market and growers that are in your given area. So just put in it could be the type of product you're looking for. It could be the name of a farmer's market. Perhaps you know the name, but you don't know the address in order to get there. Anything that you're searching for, payment, that you could be a payment method that is acceptable at a farmer's market. Perhaps you want to make sure that this farmer's market accepts EBT cards. So you can input this information into the National Farmers Market Directory, and all of the farmers market that meet these requirements that you have, it will populate and you will be able to search their information, as well as if they have a website available. The USDA Food Buying Guide is another great resource. The Food Buying Guide is designed to help take the guesswork out of how much to buy and to meet the program's needs. So this goes back to your assessing your need and your budget. So you know that if you have X amount of kids in your program and you know you want to serve sweet potatoes for all of those children for perhaps your lunch, you can put in how many pounds of sweet potatoes you would need, and this would let you know, say it's a case of sweet potatoes and you get 20 pounds, it will let you know how many servings of sweet potatoes 20 pounds will cover for your child nutrition program. And there's also a web version for this, and there's an app that you can download onto your phone. So here's just a screenshot of what the food buying guide looks like. So in this example, we have black beans. It gives you the technical definition, which is turtle beans. And so you see that there are legumes, there are dry beans, and there are peas. That's the category that they fit in. They would be, as far as the meal component, they're considered a meat or a meat alternative. And you see here that the beans, these are canned beans. And so the purchase unit would be a number 10 can. And one number 10 can, there are 27 servings on average in that number 10 can, which the serving size would be 1/4 of a cup. And so you can take this information based off what is on here, and you can determine how much you need to purchase for your child nutrition program to meet the needs for that particular meal. And lastly, here's a couple other resources. The USDA Commodity Food Systems website is a great resource. This will give you tools such as the next one, which is the Procuring Local Foods for Child Nutrition Program. There's also a local foods toolkit that is available on the USDA website, a decision tree. There's also localharvest.org, which is a resource and a website that you can utilize in order to determine the location of farmers market. If you're interested in a community-supported agriculture, which farms or farmers participate in community-supported agriculture. You can also contact the Georgia Department of Agriculture. This is where you would locate Georgia Grown. Anything relating to Georgia's agricultural economy, you can search the Georgia Department of Agriculture. And lastly, if you're interested in farm to early care and education, the National Farm to School Network will provide you with resources, learning, and training on how to incorporate farm to ECE or start farm to ECE in your child care center. So I thank you. This is the end of our Procurement Masterclass on local sourcing. If you have any questions, if you're interested in incorporating local sourcing, but I failed to cover something that you have a question about, please do not hesitate to give me a call. And I thank you so much for attending.